Hello YouTubes, it is time for the Wilds of Eldraine pre-release guide. This is our second visit to the plane of Eldraine, and this time we are going outside the realm, beyond the 5 courts, and into the darker and more dangerous wilds. Currently, there's a deep sleep curse over the land called the Wicked Slumber. Ariette and her sister Talion have put a curse over the land, and Will and Rowan Kenrith are trying to recruit some fairy friends to help them undo the Wicked Slumber. Oh, and of course Ashiok is here because they love a good slumber party. That's the lore in a nutshell. One more thing to note, Card Kingdom is the best place to get all your Magic cards in one convenient package. Use my affiliate link to let them know I sent you, and if you'd please be so kind, hit that like button. Here's the itinerary of what we'll be covering. Now, onto the pre-release guide, starting with themes and mechanics. It's Eldraine, so of course there's food and the flavorful addition of sagas in the set. Quick tip here, be mindful of how the food artifact tokens and the permanence sagas create play into some of the strong synergies once we start to dive into the archetypes. Now, adventure cards also return, this time on both creature and non-creature spells, and some are multicolor as well. All the adventure cards are pretty good, and the flexibility they offer makes them all potentially playable. We also have 3 brand new mechanics. First, Celebration, which is an ability that triggers if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control during the turn. My favorite example is Gallant Pie Wielder getting double strike when you trigger Celebration. Next are the Roll Aura enchantments. There are 6 token enchantment aura rolls in the set. When you create them by casting a spell or creature's ETB effect, they attach to a creature, giving them different abilities. For example, the Monster Roll gives +1/+1 in Trample. The Royal Roll gives +1/+1 in Ward 1. Or there is a Cursed Roll, which turns the creature into a 1/1. These enchantments are sure to create some interesting lines of play. Remember, they can be used for triggering enchantment synergies, used as sack fodder, or counted as permanents entering the battlefield. And then Bargain is the last mechanic to check out. It is a keyword ability that allows you to sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token when casting the spell to gain an additional effect, such as making your spell deal more damage. Bargain is a great way to bring more value to your food tokens, but also be a good way to sacrifice a cursed role you control, such as the one that comes in on Cursed Courtier. Now onto the archetypes. Wilds of Eldraine is focused on 2 color pairings, with each being led by a 2-color legend. Let's start with the more straightforward aggro game plans, with the classic white-red, which is led by Ash, Party Crasher. She's a 2/2 with haste that gets bigger as you trigger Celebration, which is what most creatures on this game plan want to do, celebrate their comrades, joining them in battle. Cards like Discerning Financier and Return Triumphant are fantastic because they help you trigger Celebration with minimal card and mana investment. Other lines would be adding permanents at instant speed. Monstrous Rage is the best pump spell in the format, creating us a permanent in the form of a Monster Roll token and helping a creature either survive combat or trade up. It also has the best flavor text in the set. I also really like Ratcatcher Trainee, who can give us 2 tokens at instant speed with its adventure. Celebration feels like a game plan that forces you to reveal your spells earlier than you want, which is true for some of our creatures like Belligerent of the Ball, but having those instant speed options makes it difficult for your opponent to slow down your attack. Other cards to look out for: Cut In takes care of most of the creatures in the format while also adding a Young Hero Roll token to the board. And if your card pool has a good amount of spells that impact the board and add permanents to your board, this is going to be a really strong archetype for you to consider. But I do want to clarify something with this archetype and most of the archetypes is, though the theme may be something like Celebration, there may not always be a ton of payoffs for that thing. For example, there's only 8 creatures with Celebration in the set. The takeaway is, while the uncommon gold cards are often the signposts for what the color pairs want to do, just jamming those 2 colors together does not create a synergistic deck. We are most likely going to be utilizing multiple mechanics and synergies to maximize the power of our deck. Okay, next up we have Black-Red, and it is Go Wide, Rat, Smash, and Bargain. And I like that our rat tokens can't block because blocking is for people about to lose. If I think about it, I've lost more games after I've declared blockers than after I've declared attackers. So it seems to me blocking can be pretty bad. Totentan's Swarm Piper is awesome, makes our dying creatures into rats, and can give every rat death touch. Lord Skitter is here with his Butcher to also keep pumping out rats. Tattered Ratter makes every rat difficult to block. We really want a wide board of rats and are here to win the race. To win the race though, we need to have options for either pumping our board or making blocking difficult. 2 cards I really want are Twisted Sewer Witch, who puts wicked rolls on all of our rats, and Gnawing Crescendo, which will be a good finishing combat trick to either do all the damage we need or leave our opponent in a losing position. See what I'm saying? Blocking is bad. As I look through the rat support cards though, there's only 5 rat cards in the set, with Voracious Vermin being the only common rat, and there are about 10 cards that somehow create rat tokens. So we'll definitely be looking for some crossover in this archetype, especially with good bargain cards. Instant speed bargain like Candy Grapple, that's a card that'll be fighting for the best common in the set. We can instant speed sack a rat token in combat that's going to die anyway, or a cursed roll token we control, or a saga as its final chapter goes on the stack. Those are the high value plays that keep us getting ahead and preventing our opponent from stabilizing. Don't forget, blocking is for people about to lose. Now let's move on to red-green, which is Ferocious Beatdowns, meaning we want to ramp and smash with creatures that have 4 or greater power. Ruby helps with the ramping, Agatha helps with the smashing, as does Agatha's champion, and Root Rider Fallen is a top-tier common force who can also help with a splash if we so choose. Red-green is not trying to reinvent the wheel here, you just want to make sure you have enough to do in the early game to not get overwhelmed, and be able to apply pressure in the late game so you don't get stalled out and poked down by go-wide rats or annoying flyers. Commons like Minecart Daredevil are a great adventure card for us, because adventure cards typically mean 2 for 1 value, especially those that are combat tricks, and then later a 4-power creature. Howling Galefang will be tough to deal with at all stages of the game, and Royal Treatment is a fantastic protection spell. Green-red has good removal options, like the fight spell Curse of the Werefox. It's one I'll be happy to play. The challenge here is knowing when to use removal and apply pressure, and when to add to your board to let your bigger creatures push through in the later turns. Now let's move into some archetypes that lean more into high value and combo game plans, first with black-green BFF, or Bargain, Food, and Fight. Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge makes my eyes cross every time I try to read it because Sweet Tooth has all those double letters in it, but she's here as a value machine turning food into 1/1 counters or card draw. Phosphane Troll is here to turn its roll tokens into UFC fight tickets, and Tough Cookie keeps all our food tokens looking quite ferocious. Then there's Gingerbread Hunter, who is removal and a great creature and great artwork all in one. I also see this format being a bit slower and think black-green will be a very potent color combo because we have ways to make sure we have the biggest creature, like Hamlet Glutton being one of the best green commons in the set, and then we have good removal like Shatter the Oath to stabilize if our opponent plays a big thing, or we can just play Scream Puff and get us right back into the driver's seat. Then there's Ferocious Werefox, who's also just another good combat trick creature combo in one. Also, if I open Virtue of Persistence, I will do everything I can to make it work because winning with my opponent's creatures is just too good to pass up, and black-green has the best chance of making it happen. Now let's jump over to what will undoubtedly be the most frustrating game plan to play against, and if you're a control player, you will love white-blue tap-tap-taparoo. Hilda is just a stupid bomb that will ruin fun for our opponent. If you're against blue-white, especially in the later rounds of a tournament, assume you need to hold removal for a Hilda. I foresee myself rage scooping to this card on a regular basis. Next, Charade helps us tap stuff down and generate card draw off tapping down creatures. Ice Wrought Sentry is one of our better 3-drops, and Threadbind Click is a nice instant speed removal for a tapped creature as well as being a tough to deal with 3/3 flyer. The game plan may be tapping down creatures, but I think the real focus is how white-blue finds a way to win with their flyers. Expensive ones like Charmed Clothier can be an option, Mocking Sprite can be good to help our interaction spells be cheaper while poking in, and Archon's Glory is a really solid combat trick to keep at the ready in those aggro racing situations. Lastly, Frostbridge Guard is a solid early play that can be that annoying tap effect for us as well. Our biggest risk in a deck like this is if we run into an aggro or go wide game plan because we may not be able to win that race, but a great white-blue deck will have a plan to handle really aggro opponents, though it will be one of the more intense decks to pilot. But yeah, if you get the payoffs, it will be very tough to beat. Now I want to jump to black-white, which is bargain enchantments, sacrifice, and tokens. Ariete is incredible if we are able to get cards that put cursed rolls on our opponent's creatures, because then we can't be attacked by them. And remember, you can only sacrifice or bargain permanents you control, so our opponent can't get rid of a roll we put on their creature, nor does them putting a roll on the same creature remove it. If I have Ariete, I'm 100% playing every copy of Not Dead After All as well to try and protect her. Neva does everything we want, and the Menace helps her attack once she buffs up a bit. Dutiful Griffin can return to our hand by stacking a couple enchantments, like those roll tokens, and then that triggers Ashiok's Reaper, which is a huge card advantage engine for us. White-black also provides a really nice suite of removal. Kellen's Light Blades and Taken by Nightmares are both fantastic. And then keep an eye out for Hopeful Vigil as one of the better 2-drop commons we could hope for, because we get a 2/2 for 2, and sack it to bargain later on for more value, and then it counts as an enchantment, ET being going to the graveyard, really everything we need. Also, I have to shout out Shrouded Shepherd. This card alone will ruin the rat deck. It will hit a few of the flyers that are going to annoy us. So if you're in white, this is a must play against those aggro opponents. Now let's roll into green-white here, because there is some significant overlap between white-black and black-green, and this is just going to be a popular 3-color splashing trio. The game plan for white-green is simple: enchanted creatures. Sir Armont enchants a creature and buffs all of our other enchanted creatures, including herself. Yenna is awesome, allowing us to make copies of our unique tokens one at a time so we can derive a lot of value from her. Creatures like Savior of the Sleeping is a threat that can get out of hand quick, and Slumbering Keepguard is a 1-drop I'm happy to play in multiple color pairs because there will be a ton of enchantments ETBing, helping us scry and making it a real threat later on. Cooped Up is the best version of pacifism ever. It could also be seen as a 5-mana exile removal spell. Bestial Bloodline I like because we can recur it in the late game if we really need to. And then Red Tooth Genealogist is solid as a 3-drop with Graceful Takedown, then being a way that we can also use all the enchanted creatures we have to take out any creature our opponent has. I'm usually hesitant to get too excited about game plans that require our combo pieces to stick around, because if that combo piece dies, we just flounder towards defeat. However, I think white-green looks strong with a good balance of enablers and payoffs, and will be a top contender, especially with green helping us splash those off-color bombs. Now, blue-black is fairies, and the game plan here is fairy control. Emphasis on the control. We want to have annoying flyers that are hard to wall off, so we're going to look to create value by having maybe creatures in our graveyard, or finding ways to generate plenty of card advantage. Talion, Obera, and Likeness Looter all help with developing our game plan, and a favorite creature of mine is Dream Spoilers. Whenever we cast a spell during an opponent's turn, we can give a creature of theirs -1/-1 till end of turn. That's a lot of complexity for our opponent to navigate, and the intimidation factor is always nice. The issue here is if you're on the back foot, they don't make the best blockers, so you need to weave in those instant counter spells and interaction to make sure you don't just lose to bigger bodies. We also have good value creatures like Chancellor of Tales, Snare Master Sprite, Spellscorn Coven, and counter magic like Spell Stutter. There's 3 counter spells in the set, so if you're against blue-black, be mindful of that. The control game plan here: control the ground game, and keep our flyers difficult to pin down. Now, a personal favorite color combo lately is red-blue, and this one just seems to be what red-blue is doing lately: instants and sorceries and adventures too. Johan is here to help us play instants and sorceries from the top of our library. That's pretty nice card advantage, as well as having 5 toughness makes him quite hard to kill in this format. Frolicking Familiar is a great adventure creature that helps us poke down a flyer. Hearth Elemental is really solid, helping us in the mid to late game draw some extra cards, be cheaper as the game goes on. And then Unruly Catapult is a card I hope to open multiple of if this is the archetype I wind up in. Just being a good blocker and then being able to ping our opponent down is especially good in sealed. Adventure creatures like Two-Headed Hunter are exactly what we're looking for. Torch the Tower is good removal. Flick a Coin is a card we definitely want, and Quick Study is amazing as instant speed divination. This is going to be another more complicated deck to pilot, but hopefully we have a good amount of adventure creatures, good instants, and card draw, and that allows us to find some creative ways to win the match. Now last, but not as least as it's been in the past, blue-green big spells. As we see with Troina, we want to get those 5 CMC spells out ASAP, and the Goose Mother is just a fantastic card that you're going to try and splash no matter what you're playing. But what we're looking for here are cards that care about us casting 5 mana spells and then having plenty of 5+ mana spells to do the thing. Usually though, this archetype is trash, but in this set, Adventure makes it far more viable. 2 solid payoffs we have are Tempest Heart and Stormkeld Prowler, and a card like Up the Beanstalk is a card I'm happy to play because it replaces itself on ETB, and from there I can sack it to bargain, or even if it helps us draw 1 extra card, I'm happy. Beamstalk Worm, really good. Bluna's Gatekeeper, solid option. Stormkeld Vanguard with its Bear Down Adventure is solid in a set that is everyone playing enchantments. We may not know what we're doing or what we're going to target with Bear Down, but we're going to do it well. Should we main deck Artifact and Enchantment Removal? Yes, because hopefully we can hit a target like Virtue of Persistence against someone like me who would be silly enough to put their entire game plan around a single card, and then it gets destroyed and now I'm in crisis mode. So I guess the point is I like blue-green in the set. That's the archetypes, but now we have to mention the wild card element of the set, and that is the Wilds of Eldraine Enchanting Tales card sheet. Like sets of the past, March of the Machine, having Legends, or Brothers War, having the retro artifact cards, Wilds of Eldraine has a bonus enchantment card slot. There are 63 enchantments, Every draft booster will have one of the 63 cards in it, and yes, they are playable at your pre-release. Not much else to note here other than you now have more incentive to have enchantment removal in your deck because some of these cards are busted. Now let's move on to the mana fixing options. What are they in Wilds of Eldraine, and should we be trying to splash? Splash support, I would say, is average at best. I'd give it like a C, C-. In green, we get some additional help like Brave the Wilds and Return from the Wilds. With artifacts, we have Prophetic Prism and Scarecrow Guide. And for land, we have Edgewall Inn, Crystal Grotto as a filter land, Evolving Wilds, and we have the rare lands, which I'm already anticipating my pre-release promo will be one of these rare lands. Best of luck to you all out there who wind up in the same boat as me. Now the question is, should you splash or be looking to splash? And I would say, yeah, definitely go into the pre-release with an open mind to splashing, especially if you're on the enchantments or adventure game plans. I anticipate green, white, and black with the enchantment focus will be a popular trio, as will blue, red, and green with the adventures focus. Those I think will be the most common 3-color decks out there. Let's add some more color to that discussion though by getting into our deck building tips, because there is a ton to consider when building your deck. It's a pre-release, so we have 6 packs to open and get organized ASAP. Find those 2 best colors, see if you need a splash or can support it, and then do the basic checks. Do I have enough 2 and 3 drops? And remember to check what adventure cards you're playing, because those provide you some usually lower costed interaction while then also being your top end creatures. Make sure you have removal for creatures and hopefully for enchantments as well. Make sure you can see how your deck wins. Is it combos? Is it card advantage? Is it just some big flying dragon like Realm Scorcher Hellkite, which is probably the best creature in the set? All those work. Just make sure you can see a game plan to victory. Lastly, before you start sleeving up your deck, check you have an idea of how you will deal with a gummed up board and flyers, because you will run into both. I mentioned the gummed up board because here are the data points for you. We have 155 creature spells, 48 of them, about 30% of the set, have higher toughness than power. The most common power for creatures in this set is 2. The most common toughness is 3. So creatures with higher toughness being more prevalent, plus food tokens, plus the adventure creatures always giving us something to do. Point is, the format's going to be slower, so be ready for how you're going to close out games, especially if you're in a more aggro color pair. Now on to the last subject, gameplay tips. There will be close games, with plenty coming down to who can be more disciplined with their interaction and timing of their spells. Don't tap out before combat unless you have a good reason to, especially if your opponent has mana up, because if your opponent has mana up, you need to assume shenanigans are afoot. I'll always stress to be confident though, don't play scared, and just let your opponent draw their way back into the game. If you can apply pressure, sometimes you just have to make them have it. Balancing when to use removal and when to let creatures trade will be a very tough decision point as well. And then against color pairs I know are really synergy focused, like blue-white, I am saving my removal as best I can to make sure I have something for that big rare or mythic that they may have so that they don't just run away with the game. And then lastly, as always, have fun. It's a pre-release. Eldraine is an awesome set to be visiting, and I think this set is going to be fantastic. There's really interesting combos, the role tokens will be very interesting to play with, and I'm excited to see how each color pair performs. But that's going to do it for me, folks. You always know I love to hear about how your pre-releases went, so after the event, come back, let me know how you did, what you wound up playing, if you made any sweet plays or had some cool combos you pulled off. And then shout out to Card Kingdom as well. Check them out if you need cards or sealed product. They are the best. Let me know if there's any questions I can help you with in the comments. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope this pre-release guide has helped you be ready for Wilds of Eldraine. Take it easy, my friends, and best of luck to you at your pre-release. Peace.